For all his sons and his daughters won't fill the cities with faces. Iniquities of they father, bloodthirstiest of our nation. Not for living water, waiting to put that work in. Hamashiach give us that order, prepare slaughter. For all his sons and his daughters won't fill the cities with faces. Iniquities of they father, bloodthirstiest of our nation. Not for living water, waiting to put this work in. Hamashiach give us that order.
Y'all got any questions? Y'all familiar with this? Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. Kinda. What understanding do you guys have? Or if there's anything I can kind of fill y'all in with. When did y'all first hear this song? Fill me in, bro. I'm filling in. You gotta wait some time. So y'all heard the concept of the importance of the Israelites in the Bible? Do y'all believe in the Bible? Yeah. Okay. And y'all understand? Y'all heard about the importance of the Israelites in the Bible, right? You know what we're teaching that so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians are these people that you read about in the Bible. Y'all heard that before? Have you guys ever heard or understood the Bible? No? Okay. So, there's something called prophecies in the Bible. Y'all heard of prophecies before? A prophecy is when God tells you about something that's going to happen in the future, right? And these things are so important when it pertains to the Bible because it validates the existence and the divinity of God. That we can read in this Bible that God declared thousands of years ago something that was going to happen long after. Okay? So, you got Deuteronomy 28? I'm going to show you a couple of things that showcases that we are Israelites as a people. Right? 28:1.
So look at Deuteronomy chapter 28 from the top. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments.
If we hearken, which is to listen closely to the words and the laws of God, to observe and do them, go ahead.
Which I command thee this day,
Read.
that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth.
So if the Israelites were to obey it, he says he's going to put them on high above all nations of the earth, right? We don't see this happening in the world today. We don't see the Israelites ruling on high. Why do we say that? Jump to verse 15.
Verse 15, it says, but it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God.
So now we're going to see what's going to happen if they don't listen and if they don't do the commandments of God. Read.
To observe, to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day.
Read.
That all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
Now, if we were to listen, we'd be blessed, or the Israelites would be blessed. But if they don't listen, they will be cursed. Why is these curses important? Because we can see these curses in the world today. Jump to verse 44.
Verse 44.
So from 15 all the way down to 16 is all of the curses. Go ahead.
Verse 44, it says, he shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him.
So one of the curses that were going to be upon the Israelites is that they were not going to have enough wealth to lend to people. They were going to be the people that have to borrow from others. Go ahead.
He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail.
But remember what the blessing was, that if they listened, they would be above. But if they didn't listen, they'd be the tail and not the head. Read.
It says, moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee,
Read.
till thou be destroyed.
It was meant to destroy us. Why? Go ahead.
Because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God.
Because when you disobey God, this is how he punishes his people. Read.
To keep his commandments and his statutes, which he commanded thee. And they shall be upon thee for a sign.
And these curses were supposed to serve as a sign. It was going to be punishment, but it was also going to serve as a sign. Okay? That's important. Read.
And for a wonder.
And for a wonder.
And upon thy seed forever.
And upon the seed of the children of Israel forever. When you read that word sign and wonder in the original language, it means a distinguishable mark. Jump to verse 54. I'm going to show you guys a couple things, right? Two things. Jump to 54, because this is one of the most distinguishable marks that we can clearly see amongst Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian people.
Verse 54, it says, so that the man that is tender among you and very delicate.
So right there it says the man was supposed to be tender and delicate. Do you feel like black men treat other black men tenderly and delicately? Absolutely not. And watch this. Everybody in the entire planet Earth can see that. That's a distinguishable mark upon us as people. But what a lot of times what people do is the media, they will not showcase how the Hispanics are doing the same thing to the people and how the Native Indians do the same thing to one another, right? So the man that is tender and delicate among you, read,
his eye shall be evil toward his brother.
this is why black on black crime is such a prominent and a significant thing in the world, because it was meant to destroy us. We can clearly see that this is what's messing up us as a people, and it's a clear-cut sign that people highlight about us when they want to say something bad. You guys have no unity. You guys destroy each other, you shoot each other, you hunt each other down. In the Bible, it says that the Israelites, as a result of not following the laws of God, their eye will be evil toward the man that they should look at tenderly and delicately. Go ahead.
And toward the wife of his bosom.
Do you guys, can you guys understand how men and women, when they create families, that they oftentimes break up? Do you guys live in a two-parent household? See what I'm saying? This is literally happening within our lives at such an alarming rate, because God said it was going to be upon the children of Israel as a sign, and it was going to destroy us. Do you feel like that we would be better if we had a two-parent household, if we had a stronger family nucleus? We would be better. But since we don't, we're worse off, and this is something that we are trying to repair. And the only way we can repair it is coming back into the law, statutes, and commandments of God. If we don't, we're going to keep experiencing this. You two are going to grow up, you're going to build a family, and chances are that you guys are going to break up, because the family is not built on the faith and on the obedience of the Most High God. Read.
That's right. And toward the remnant of his children,
Which he shall what?
which he shall lead.
Is you guys as fathers in your lives, right? Kinda. How many people do you know whose fathers is not in their life? It's a lot, because that's another thing that plagues us. Our eye is evil towards one another. Our men and women don't get along, and oftentimes the men leaves. This is a distinguishable mark on the children of Israel. And when we look into the world, who is marked and plagued by this? Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian people. Go ahead.
It says, so that he will not give to any of them of the flesh of his children, whom he shall eat, because he have nothing left him in the seed.
So remember earlier it said that we were going to be the borrowers and not the lenders? It says we was going to be in such a destitute and low place, we would have nothing to even lead to our kids, because when we were seized, or when we were besieged, everything was taken from us. And I'm sure you guys, hopefully your parents are teaching about African American history, because they're taking it out of the school books, right? How old are you guys? 17. So a lot of times they done took this out of the school books, and they're not really even teaching you the fullness of black history. But a part of it was they took who we were away from us, they destroyed us, and they brought us low, and then they convinced us that we were somebody who we weren't. This is all that was going to happen to the children of Israel. Hold that, give me Psalms 83. What's your guys' nationality? Black and white. Who's black, who's white? Dad's black. Mom's mixed with what? And what? White, black, her dad black? What?
Psalm number 83 from the top.
Bring it out.
Keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace and be not still, O God.
This is the Israelites speaking to God. Read.
For lo, thine enemies make a tumult.
So the context is talking about our enemies and how they are have such an issue with you. That's what a tumult is, right? It's like an uprising. They got a problem with the children of Israel. Why? And then we start to ask ourselves, why did white people have to take us to the slave? What did we do to them? We did nothing to them. They seen an opportunity. They were greedy. They had real evil ways for themselves. And they came, brought us as slaves, brought us over here and treated us like trash. They had no issue. So when we see here, the children of Israel saying their enemies make a tumult, which is an uprising, when you read in the context of this chapter, and even in the book, or even in the rest of the Bible, what reason did any nation outside of Israel have to have a problem with them? It was nothing. They was cool people. God gave us land. We set up our own nation. We invited and we allowed people to come in. What was the issue? There was never one. But let's see what they did when they conspired together. Read.
And they that hate thee have lifted up the head.
So there are enemies and the ones that hate us, and they're in an uproar against us. Read.
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people.
They take crafty counsel, right? They take these real tricky, these real crafty ways against the children of Israel. This is the same thing that our oppressors did to us. That's why they had to take who we were away from us, right? And then replace it with something. This is important to know because it's going to speak about it in this chapter. That's the crafty counsel. Read.
And consulted against thy hidden ones.
It says they take crafty counsel against us, but then they consult against our hidden ones. Our hidden ones are the people that you're supposed to protect. That's the word you read about in the Hebrew. When danger comes, you would take your little sister and you put her behind you and you step in front, right? So your hidden ones how did our enemies consult against them? Which is our women and our children. They force our children to be in school, right? From the time of 5 years old all the way to 18. If your parents didn't put you in school, then you were subject to be taken away from your parents. Then they turn around and create this philosophy that our women don't need our men, which then goes and contributes to that curse that they tend to break up with each other. This is the crafty counsel. Read.
They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation.
And you can see as a result of what they implemented, it broke us up as a nation because that was their ultimate goal. They want to cut us off from being a nation. Read.
That the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
And that's why I'm sure this brother can understand when we look at the TV show Roots and they say, what's your name? And he said Kuta Kinte, and they beat it out of him until he called himself Toby. They had to take us away from being a nation. They had to destroy us as a people, consult and to convince our kids and our women, who is the people that us men have the biggest issues with when we want to establish our way and establish our principles and foundation, and it breaks us up as a nation. And they did what? They took who we were away from us.
That's right.
Go ahead.
For they have consulted together with one consent.
Read.
They are confederate against it.
And when you look at the people all who done this, it's every. Do you know? I went to African American and Smithsonian Museum in D.C. and they map out all of the nations that had a hand in the transatlantic slave trade. And I'm telling you right now that any country that is doing well for themselves, that has any economic power or influence, had a hand in the transatlantic slave trade, the rape, robbery, murder of Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians. They all came together with one consent that they are against us. That's why all these other nations, they come over here, they set up shop in our communities. The Arabs got the liquor stores. The East Indian man has 7-Elevens. He's got motels, right? The Chinese people, they got liquor stores and other businesses, beauty supplies, beauty salons, all that different type of stuff, right? And they make money off of us. But as soon as a black person sets up a shop, it don't last long. And they ain't definitely finna get no black person no liquor license to get no liquor store. You ain't never seen no black people own no hotels, no nothing like that. Every now and again you'll see a few here and there, but collectively you see these other nations migrating to the land of opportunity to take advantage of us. They're consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against it.
That's
so
right.
These other nations are coming over here
right.
and joining forces with who? The Confederates. These people, these whites that have a white supremacist mentality that establish us on the bottom of the totem pole, force us to go and borrow from them, and they never allow us to have any type of economic power or any type of economic stability to be the lenders. Go ahead.
It says, the tabernacles of Edom.
And then it starts to list these nations, right? Go ahead.
And the Ishmaelites.
Read.
Of Moab and the Hagarenes. Gebal and Ammon.
Go ahead.
And Amalek.
Go ahead.
The Philistines. With the inhabitants of Tyre.
These are all of the nations that was in our general population in our area. These are our enemies, and these are the people that hate us. Why is this relevant? Because it says that they would take the name of Israel away from us, and it would destroy us as a nation. This is literally what happened to so-called blacks, so-called Hispanics, and so-called Native Indians. It has happened to no other people on the planet. Yes, other people have been oppressed. Yes, other people have been subjected, but they've never beat who they were out of them, and they've never destroyed them as a nation.
Right.
Combined with implementing rules, regulations, standards, philosophy that turn our eye against our brother, that turns our eye against our wife, and our eye against our children, where we are predominantly known to leave them. These are all of the descriptions of the Israelites in the Bible that fit perfectly to Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians. Let's go back to Deuteronomy 28. Read verse 68.
The book of Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 68.
Go ahead.
It says, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
Now, if you understand what Egypt is according to the Bible, Egypt is the place that God delivered his chosen people out of. They were in hardcore bondage and slavery. God is telling them, or he had already promised rather, when he took them out of Egypt, he promised them, he said, you're not going to go back into the literal Egypt. But later on, he says, if you disobey me, I'm going to bring the conditions of Egypt back upon you if you disobey me. This is what the curse was, right? But this time, I'm going to do it with ships. Go to Exodus 20 and 2 real quick so we can show something. Bring it out.
Book of Exodus chapter 20 and verse 2.
Go ahead.
I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt.
Out of Egypt. Let's see how he regards Egypt.
Out of the house of bondage.
I'm going to take you out of Egypt, and I'm going to take you out of the house of bondage. So when he's talking to them in Deuteronomy, we understand, I'm going to bring you into the house of bondage again. as I just took you out, but this time with ships. Go back to Deuteronomy 28:16 from the top.
Deuteronomy 28:68. It says that the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt
Into the house of bondage again, read.
with ships.
With ships, go ahead.
By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again.
He had already told us we wasn't going to see the literal Egypt again. That's how we know it's just in reference to the house of bondage. Can any of you guys tell me any other people that have went into slavery on ships? Any other nation outside of so-called Negroes that went into slavery on ships? We never heard of it. As quiet as it is kept, the Hispanic and the Native Indians also went into slavery on ships. The same ships that we were brought from Africa over here to, they loaded the Native Indians and Hispanic Indians onto those same ships and carried them back across the waters to Africa, Europe, and even took them down in the Caribbean. This has only happened to the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians. And this is a prophecy, right, that God spoke to his people that it would happen if we forsook the laws of God. Now, when you look at the children of Israel, who we say they are Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian, they break damn near all the laws of God. They don't keep the dietary law. They don't keep the civil law. What's the civil law? Love your neighbor as you love yourself. But remember, the curses were on us to destroy us. So if we don't have a love for ourselves, how can I have a love for you? I have a love for my brother. See what I'm saying? So our mission here is to remind our people who they are and who they were, so that we can come back into these principles, which ultimately will repair and will ultimately will heal us of all of the different destructive ways that we've taken on to us as a people. That is the only way we're going to be saved. It ain't got nothing to do with economics. It ain't got nothing to do with voting power. It ain't got nothing to do with politics. It has everything to do with the individual, eternal man of an Israelite man, woman, and child. And then from there, how we join ourselves together.
That's right.
That's how we're going to get up out of this place. And then once we do so, we're not even going to have to exert so much energy, because then our God is just going to supersede, and he's going to back us with any adversary or any enemies that we have. Right? And the Bible tells us that. Go to Deuteronomy 30.
Book of Deuteronomy chapter 30 from the top. And it shall come to pass when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse.
So we just read the curses. And the blessings again is you'll be the lender, not the borrower. You'll be above all people on the planet Earth. Your land will be fruitful. Your pockets will be fruitful. Your body will be fruitful. All of these different things. Nowadays, our women are having a hard time getting pregnant. And then when our women do get pregnant, what do? They kill them. Because there's more black babies being killed than there are being born in this country. The most dangerous place for a Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian baby is in their mother's womb, statistically speaking. Because when they get pregnant, we are choosing to abort our babies instead of carrying them to term and building them up to be the possible powerful prophets of the Bible that they could possibly be, right? Go ahead. So when these blessings and when these curses happen to us, remember, they're going to be a sign. And we're going to utilize this sign to remember who we are. Read.
Which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations, whither the Lord thy God has driven thee.
So all of the places that God took us to into bondage on ships, we were going to call the curses and the blessings to mind, because they were going to be on us as a sign for the people of Israel. Even though they took who we were away from us, even though they beat who we were out of us, even though they convinced us that we are more American than we are anything else, we were still going to recognize these curses as a sign from God that we are the children of the Most High, no matter where we've been scattered. Go ahead.
That's right. And shall return unto the Lord thy God.
And upon remembering these things, we were going to return to God. This is the literal definition of repentance, to turn back to God.
What does it say on the staff?
Go ahead, what happened?
What does it say on the staff?
Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. It's the Most High God. Under the red is Hashem in the name, and under that is his son's name. The name, the true name of Christ in the Paleo Hebrew.
Yahweh. Say it again.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Bahashem.
Bahashem.
Yahushua. Absolutely. So it's God the Father in the name of the Son. Go ahead.
And shalt obey his voice according to all that I command thee this day.
It says we're going to return to God, we're going to repent, go back to him, and then we're going to obey his voice, all the things that he commanded us. Go ahead.
Thou and thy children.
Us and our children, read.
With all thine heart.
With all of our heart, go ahead.
And with all thy soul.
And with all thy soul. And this is who the world calls Christ. He came to the earth and said, the 2 commandments is love the Most High God with all of your heart and love your neighbor as yourself. But remember that love for our neighbor is predicated on the love that we have for ourselves and the love that we have for the Most High. And once we develop that, then we can spread that to others, and then we join ourselves as a nation. Go ahead.
That then the Lord thy God will turn thy captivity.
And at that time, when we return to God, then he will turn our captivity. That's where salvation comes into play. That's where deliverance comes into play. That's the whole purpose and need for a savior, because the children of Israel was punished and put into captivity via ships, as it was prophesied according to the curses of Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter. Go ahead.
And have compassion upon thee.
Then he's going to have mercy and compassion upon us. Read.
And will return and gather thee from all the nations whither the Lord thy God hath scattered thee.
Wherever he scattered us, he's going to reach out and gather us back. This is why it was important for Christ to tell his disciples, go and preach my gospel unto all nations, because that's where the children of Israel were.
Right.
Give me Tobit 13. Go ahead.
Verse 4. If any of thine be driven out unto the outmost parts of heaven,
Read.
from thence will the Lord thy God gather thee.
Wherever we've been scattered, from there he will gather us. Read.
And from thence will he fetch thee.
And from there he'll fetch us. Go ahead.
And the Lord thy God will bring thee into the land which thy fathers possessed.
Then he's going to give us the promised land. Read.
And thou shalt possess it. And he will do thee good and multiply thee above thy fathers.
And then he's going to start to do good by us instead of punishing us for our wickedness and disobedience. This is why all of this is so important. And while we out here, in the midst of it, we have people that took our records. Because this Bible is about nothing but the Israelites, from start to finish. Only thing you're going to read about is a bunch of Israelites and what they were doing. They took our records, perverted it, and then started trying to tell us, the true children of Israel, what this Bible means, when it has nothing to do with them. Only time it pertains to them is when it talks about how we are going to deal with them and how we are going to be delivered from them.
That's right.
And then it starts to talk about what God is going to do to them for all of the mistreatment that they brought upon us.
That's right.
And they just don't like that. Go ahead.
The book of Tobit, chapter 13 and verse 3.
Bro.
It says, confess him before the Gentiles,
Confess Christ or confess God before the Gentiles. Read.
ye children of Israel,
You children of Israel. Read.
for he hath scattered us among them.
Because you are scattered among them. Read.
There declare his greatness
In the midst of these Gentiles, declare his greatness. Read.
and exalt him before all the living.
And exalt him before all the living. And again, this is what we are here to teach, that so-called blacks, Hispanic, and Native Indians are the Israelites that you read about in the Bible.
That's right.
And that if we return to our heritage, our nationality, return unto God, follow his law, statutes, and commandments, that then he will turn our captivity, he will turn these curses off, and he will have mercy and compassion upon us and love us and give us all the things that he's promised us aforetime to receive the blessings instead of the curses. You feel me? You got any questions, bro? You heard this before? You just listened? Did you get a flyer? Check the flyer out, bro. We got a lot of good information on there. We about 2 hours over time. If you ain't got no questions with that, we'll give all honor, glory, and praise to the Most High God. Abba Yahweh is his name. We do so in the name of his only begotten Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. Real name Yahweh Shai. We say, Kram Yashara.
For all his sons and his daughters won't fill the cities with faces. Iniquities of they father, bloodthirstiest of our nation. Not for living water, waiting to put that work in. Hamashiach give us that order, prepare slaughter. For all his sons and his daughters won't fill the cities with faces. Iniquities of they father, bloodthirstiest of our nation. Not for living water, waiting to put this work in. Hamashiach give us that order.